mother of 3, survivor, and a voice for those who've been silenced. This podcast is my fight to launch truth. Back at a system that broke me. Every survivor listening, you are not alone. I'm Autumn Manelick. Welcome to the Trebuchet.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to season 2 of the Trebuchet. This is like a formal edition. I'm not going to give a disclaimer about Bigfoot because we actually have in-house counsel right now. We're not asking any legal questions though. So we're not going to ask any legal questions, and nothing that we say here is legal advice, obviously, because I'm just a person that talks about things on the internet. So never actually listen to anything that I have to say. Use anything that I say as just a grain of salt in your tea or whatever. But what she has to say, actually listen to. So welcome to the Trebuchet. Oh my gosh, I was like kind of like melancholy, and now I'm like picking up my energy. So I'm like, oh, okay.
I'm excited to be here.
Yes, welcome. Christine Miller, everybody.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. This is season 2, episode 2. We did a bridge episode last night, which was episode 1.5, I guess is what we're calling it. And I actually really like that. How cool would it be if then you and I did an episode 2.5, but then it's got to be like tomorrow with whoever's going to be the episode 3.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
Right? And then I'm like,
segue.
So, oh gosh. So Christine's a lawyer. I'll get into introducing her. If you are actually watching this podcast, then you already know who she is because you've been like watching me troll people who like talk shit about my friends on the internet. Just kidding. But where's I going with that about the segue thing? That's actually like a really cool idea.
It is. And it's like nice to see everybody like chill. We were on top of an RV last night, just like the bonding experience, especially me never having been through family court and just seeing how it affects everyone when it's not actually my clients. And there's like a different relationship there because, you know, when I have my clients, like I see how y'all speak to your attorneys or your former attorneys. It's just really eye-opening and traumatizing and all of the things.
Yeah, which like to see us behind the scenes.
Yes.
And yesterday we had a really wild, unexpected day. We were supposed to record, and you know the best laid plans, right?
Right.
Our but here's my podcast producer always says, I was like, gosh, that was weird. And he goes, is it? I think he gets it from his dad. And it's very Ned Flanders. He goes, is it odd or is it God? And I'm like,
LOL.
yeah. And fall 7 times, get down 8, or fall down 7, get up 8. But you know, it is really those things that make you sit and think. And like last night, we got to have that really cool moment on the top of the RV before the cops chased us off. And I was like, damn, I'm on the run from family court, and this parking lot is stressing me out more than that. But and then in a wild turn of events, because yesterday was such a literal shit show, at least in my own family court drama, which that had to have been wild for you to actually witness in real time.
Yes.
But like, welcome to this. And of all the days, like yesterday was such a godsend for me because you watched my life unravel in front of my eyes. I knew that information that I was getting, but like I did not obviously anticipate getting it right then or there. It was a total God thing. It was weird. It was uncomfortable. Kira had to hold me, and I was like, what's happening? But then at the same time, I was like, I'm prepared for this. I knew this was coming.
Right.
I'd already been warned, and I'm going to like do a whole deep dive and like explain this. But it's like one of these things I'm like, I don't even know if I can actually even talk about this because it's so...
Yeah, your own personal life. And it's, I mean, you know, I'm a divorce attorney. I was a criminal attorney first, but when I got my own divorce is what really changed me because every time I got an email from my divorce attorney, it would send me down this like little rabbit hole. And then I knew all the answers, you know, not in a condescending way, but I knew what to expect. Yeah. And then it is very bizarre because like as a lawyer, like that stepped out of being a lawyer in this advocacy space, I still almost like don't want to ever give anyone hope. I'm like, my job as a lawyer is to give legal advice, like not to treat trauma. You know, I mean, I got my own problems and it's just like...
I felt so bad. You said it multiple times. You were like, this is very traumatizing. I'm like, welcome to hell, bitch. Like, did you not know that this is going on? I mean, I'm kidding because you're on the other side of it. And you watched me interview somebody today, not really interview, but like vet somebody who got my phone number. And then you were like, oh, you did this to me.
Yes.
And you thought, you probably just think, at first you probably just thought I was a real idiot, which I'm not that clever. But and a lot of the times I do ask dumb questions and I honestly don't know the answer. And then sometimes I obviously know the answer, but I'm like, really tell me everything more because now I want to know the backstory between. Anyways, where I was going with that is you really do like vet people.
Yeah, you were testing me. I didn't realize that at the time. And so we're out in California. It's like super late my time. But you called and we were on the phone for like an hour and a half. And I was like, I'm in Kentucky and I go to bed at like 10:30. Like, I got to go. And you're like, da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da. But it was a great conversation. But I saw in real time you do that with this person today. And it's like, and there are, I don't know how to say this other than to say it, but there are so many nefarious actors in family court.
Yeah.
And I didn't... everybody gets mad at me when I say that. I mean, I did not know how bad it was while I was in it.
Yeah.
For a lot of different reasons.
I guess the one benefit that I have is that, I mean, one, I was married to somebody who now is just everything. When you have a priest tell you that you're not married to who you think you are, and like the priest, and now that I'm 2 years out from it, and this is something that you and I have talked about, like, how do we solve this family court crisis?
Right.
Because it's like, well, start from the beginning. What are we really doing? We're talking about a marriage. We're talking about a contract. And it's like, do we even need to be married in the modern day? How do you establish parentage? Like, because that's a new thing for me. I didn't know that there's a parentage case or parentage. What is it called?
I think it's parentage here in California. Now, in Kentucky, you can have a paternity action, which is confidential, or you can have a custody action, which is treated essentially the same as divorce. Obviously, not allocation of assets and things like that, but it's still on the circuit court docket. You know, I don't know the answer. Like, I do think that once you're in it, I think when we were all having the conversation and just meeting so many parents that have gone through it, but it's like, I always tell people, it's not 100% bad actors. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of just complacency. There's a lot of just like scared to buck the system, indoctrination. I don't know that the answer is just never getting married, because people are still going to people. I think the problem is family court is a playground for narcissists and abusive people win in family court over and over and over and over and over again.
Yeah, because it's a place where they can go to, on paper, do to you what they did behind closed doors. And it doesn't even look that bad on paper, because you're like, wow, this person's horrible. Like, if you, wait, this is a season. Oh my gosh, that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so I'm in kind of LA. I work in entertainment a little bit, like not really. Not an actress. This is really me. Everybody's like, oh, she's an actress. I'm like, okay, no. I've been doing this for 10 years. I've been podcasting. Go back and look at my original stuff. I'm still the exact same person saying the same stuff. But now the accusation that I'm afraid that I'm going to get is like, oh, she's an actress.
Yeah.
And she made this all up. And I'm like, here's the thing. If I was acting, give me a fucking awards. Like, because I am good. I am that good. I mean, you watched me yesterday. Did that seem like an act? Like,
well, if you were acting, how come you're not winning? You know, in family court.
That's so funny you asked that, because that is exactly what my now ex-husband's attorney asked me on the stand when she was trying to understand what the word divination meant. So my first podcast that I ever did, I taught myself, and I wanted to actually talk to you about this, because this is how I started to trust you, because like you're saying, there's these nefarious actors and you never know. And when I first came across your page, I was like, is she a pissed off mom? Because hell yeah, like, what's she saying? Like, you were like feisty, you were fierce, and you were confident in what you were saying. And I was like, well, whatever she's talking about, she believes what she's saying, and she's saying it with enough conviction that she's ready to, like, you know, die on this hill. And so I'm like, I'm listening now. And then I think I kind of watched a couple more, and I realized you were an attorney. And then I still don't totally know the ex parte thing, and I want to hear that whole story, unless you've told it other places and you're like, just go listen there.
Yeah.
But where I was going with all this is, I started podcasting 10 years ago, and I self-taught, self-funded. I was living not a double life, but I was working for the U.S. Army as a published Army historian, which means I'm peer-reviewed. And that's something that, like, that's why, like, today I'm like, okay, I'll show up as, you know, Mrs. Manelick, Miss Manelick. That's funny. I used to be Mrs. Seibel, and now I'm Miss Manelick. But, you know, like, in my professional whatever, as opposed to, like, you know, in long johns, like showing you how many pockets I have on my new vest that I got at.
Oh, no, a hoodie and Lulu's. Yeah.
Like, and anyways, I took 10 years to do that. And it's not that I wasn't being authentic in that space. It's that I could only share so much of my life in that space. And so I had to work 2 jobs and do all these things to learn how to do it. And then come, you know, full circle. Yeah. And now I'm back doing it. And it's so much different now, because it's so raw and it's so authentic, and the stories are so painful, but also I felt it 6 weeks ago when I came across your content. And that's crazy that you've only been doing this 6 weeks. Like,
No. I've been doing this 2 years.
Oh, you've been podcasting 2 years.
Well, I've been on social media for 2 years speaking out. So I started speaking out almost 2 years ago, but started the podcast only like 6 weeks ago. Yeah, with my partner.
So you were doing TikToks?
Yes.
Okay. So you went viral doing TikToks.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of the Gator Girl story a little bit.
Yeah.
And now she's got a documentary that we were talking about. This is something that's really funny that I've noticed in this space when we actually all meet in person. And I think that's what's escalating, not escalating, that's accelerating things. And
absolutely.
we're all, it's like we were talking about the other night. Kira and I are going back and forth studying each other's papers, and Meg had said that. She goes, can you look at somebody else's and do somebody else's?
Yeah.
Because when it's your own,
you can't see it. Yeah, you miss the forest for the trees.
And you're getting triggered every time you open an email, and you're like, you know what? I'm just going to not look at this and put it over here because it's too hard. Where I was going with all that, I can't remember, but it was something to the effect of, if it wasn't so tragic and true, it would be the funniest thing you'd ever seen. Like scripted comedy, either you could do like a scripted show or like a dramatized version. And it's either going to be the funniest shit you've ever seen or the most gut-wrenching, soul devastating, like you know what I mean,
and
in
it's
family
like,
court.
well, two things can exist at the same time,
Yeah.
and I think that is what is happening in family court.
Yeah.
Like, I really would love to write a sitcom talking about the funny stuff where these judges are absolutely unprepared, the things they say, their inability to understand rudimentary concepts of law, their incompetence.
Yeah.
It's funny. It's
like
truly funny.
like The Office.
Yeah,
but yeah. That's how I see it.
But like they're in charge of real shit, which is where you get to the traumatizing thing.
Yeah.
I have said from the beginning, if we made all courts public, including these dependency, neglect, and abuse, what we call them here, I think y'all call them parentage cases. But
say it again, dependency, what?
Dependency, neglect, or abuse, or anything on a confidential case.
Dependency?
Yeah.
What would that be?
Dependency is like when you can't, these are really, really tragic cases. That's where you can't provide for your child through no fault of your own. Like, so a
like
perfect,
the Tara Nolan example.
Well, for example, like say if a person has Down syndrome and has a baby, I've seen cases like that where that's dependency, right? It's not the parent's problem or fault in any capacity that they can't take care of the child. And then also at the same time, like there's a case right now that I'm following, but these are all confidential, so I want to be very careful. Sometimes when I tell stories too, I may add things together. That way it can never go back to my source.
Smart.
But like a case where a mom was homeless, didn't have a home, and she had to go get dependent. And when a child becomes quote unquote dependent, they're able to get health insurance placement through the Cabinet for Health and Family Services. But it's a slippery slope. It's very dangerous, and these parents are put in very, very difficult positions. But then you have the dependency, neglect, dependency here, and neglect and abuse on this side, and those are pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
But those dockets are confidential.
Is dependency, neglect, and abuse? Does the neglect and abuse in Kentucky fall under domestic violence restraining orders?
No, separate. So we have in Kentucky, it was one of the first states to really do a whole full family court, and it's actually codified in our Constitution through a constitutional amendment, which is very problematic for a lot of reasons, in my opinion. And Louisville is actually where I practice, is one of like the national models, which is in and of itself terrifying, but it's one court, one family. So we have different dockets. So you should
say that again. One court, one family.
Mm-hmm. That's the whole premise behind family court, Louisville Family Court. So if you have one family, one docket, and say this family is suffering from a dependency situation and they were married, right? So you could have the divorce and the custody action. The dependency would be on this docket. In the event there were allegations of domestic violence, it's a separate docket. But what happened? Docket. So what happened with our initial constitution in Kentucky is they gave district court and circuit court concurrent jurisdiction over family court cases. So you had certain dockets, and a docket would be like a domestic violence docket.
Okay, I'm going to go back. District court, circuit court. Circuit court is the appellate. It's like the next level up.
No, circuit court is like big boy court, right? You're going to catch a charge in circuit court. Okay. Like it's like felonies and over 5,000 in Kentucky. District court, you're talking are traffic violations, stealing from Walmart, things of that nature.
So it can be, both of those could be criminal?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. There's criminal and civil in both avenues. So you got district court and then you got circuit court. And so family court, before it existed, you would have different dockets. So if you had a domestic violence petition, it would go to district court. If you had a divorce, it would go to circuit court. So the whole concept is one court, one family, one judge hears everything. So within these family courts, which in theory is just genius and brilliant and all the things, you know what I mean? The road to hell is
paved with good intention.
Paved with good intention, my favorite quote.
And corrupt lawyers. I said it. No, I'm just kidding. Allegedly, but not at all.
But so really problematic because it looks good on paper, and then what we see in real life is just, for lack of a better term, just an absolute shit show. And you have judges that aren't prepared, and then you can have families that have cases and all these different dockets with the same judge, and the same judge is still not reading it. And again, the caveat I'll give this every single time: there are great judges out there. There are great judges out there. There are great judges out there. I get hate for saying like, oh, you only focus on the negative, and it's I want the good stories. Judge-y.com. Tell me, I'd love to get one in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah. That's your, okay, this is your website.
Yes.
Judgy, I see what you're saying. Judge-y.com.
Yeah, like judgy. Yeah.
So you say it judgy.
Yeah.
But then when you tell people how to get it, judgy, judge-y.com. Okay,
Yep.
so what do we need to go and do at Judgy? Which, wow, you got that domain?
Well, judgy, that's why it's judge-y, LOL. Because
But
we
even
couldn't
still,
afford-
that's still really good.
No, we do have that, and we have Instagram, all the social media platforms, but like it will be
Because it's cute, because it's a funny play on word.
And if you look, like the little Y is like
Yeah,
falling
you're like,
off.
yeah.
It's because we're here to judge the judges like they judge you.
Yes.
Right? So it's going to be a directory for litigant reviews, attorney verified reviews, and we're going to be able to verify them on the back end anonymously. And then we'll have a court watching component. At least in Kentucky, y'all, I don't know, California's crazy. You need cameras in courtrooms like 6 months ago.
You know what's funny is that's what everybody's talking about, these cameras in courtrooms. And then somebody goes, well, that's why they only have sketch artists. And when you think about, like, it made me remember from childhood all these court cases happening here I grew up in Alaska, and it's called the Lower 48.
Yeah.
And so it's like anything that happens anywhere outside of Alaska or Hawaii, you're just like, well, that's just a Lower 48. Like, they just all do it like that. And I remember looking at those videos of people in, like drawings, right?
Yeah, well, that's federal court mostly. But like you got to think, so we're here in California. O.J. Simpson is what did it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, they let cameras in. Why?
Because it was like, oh, it's the 90s. You know what I'm saying? We're going to have all these cameras in courtrooms, but we all sat on our TV screen watching it. I was 10 years old. I remember where I was when the verdict came out. I was in 5th grade. And my mom watched. I mean, my mom was there smoking cigarettes, being like, oh my God, watching it. This is like, you know, back in the day when we smoked in the house in Kentucky. My Nana watched it. My nanny watched it. And that's my grandmother. But I think they don't want the public to see what happens in court. Like, you see how embarrassed they were with the whole verdict and everything that came out, and the racism, which was insane, all those things. But it's like, and then they look, because then most good lawyers actually are like, are we really going to file a motion about somebody not e-filing something? Like, I don't care. Like, it's still, the only correction is that it gets filed. And so, but then it's like the other side will file something because a person was 5 minutes late when they texted, you know, there's a fatality accident. You know what I mean? It's like, you just, family court's a joke.
And meanwhile, who is getting rich? Attorneys. That is, so going back to like how we first connected and what made me trust you was we were talking about, you know, because I didn't know, I knew you practiced law. I'll be totally honest. I thought you got disbarred.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, oh shit, what this bitch do? And I was like, I want to hear. Is it a doing? Were you sleeping with a judge? Or doing blow off
The day is young. Yeah. Let's go.
No, I was like, the fact that you actually have your license, like I was like,
dude,
okay,
I've never even had a bar complaint.
You what?
I've never had someone file a complaint.
Okay, well, you can't be in our club then.
I know. I mean, like,
you can't sit with us, Christine. No, literally,
like,
we're in jail.
Come to California.
Yeah, I mean, I just like, it's crazy to me that it's just like, yeah, I don't know. It's like, and they say all these things.
You know what? You just gave me a really good idea. I think what we should do, because if you look at, again, going back to this TV thing, like when you look at who somebody is on paper, and for me, healing from domestic violence, and like you watched something yesterday that same thing that I found out yesterday, I actually already knew. I didn't know that, and that there were like some genuine surprises, but the emotionalness of it, I had already been told in March 2024 by my criminal attorney's private investigator, who I didn't know a PI had been hired on my case and had been investigating me. And he's like, I got to tell you some things. And I'm like, what? And he goes, I did a really deep dive investigation into you. And I always have to have a come to Jesus with all of my clients, or all of our clients, at some point in this. And I'm like, Wayne, like, we're done. Like, it was dismissed. They dismissed the CPO. They did. I was like, but like, we were able to prove that the whole thing was fake. And yeah, I'm still unpacking stuff in family court, but that has nothing to do with the price of tea in China. He goes, oh no, like, this is not about you. And I was like, what do you mean? And he goes, well, you know, we're criminal attorneys, And again, I would pay these people same money over and over and over
Yeah.
and over because they did what
Their
they were
job,
doing.
yeah.
Exactly. And if I was guilty and I had to just like keep paying a little bit more to be like, okay, well, what if we do this? What if we did? All I did was tell the truth
Yeah.
over and over and over and over.
The truth is not rewarded in family court.
No, it is not. But in criminal court, it is. Because there is what is the difference? It's like beyond a reasonable doubt and...
Preponderance of the evidence.
There you go. So in family court, it's preponderance of evidence.
Mm-hmm.
You can just more than likely be a psychomaniac.
51%. Well, and then the standards and then the burden shift and it gets complicated. But it's just, if you want me to be brutally honest, and this will record, and I'm like, but it's not real court. They're not real lawyers. They're failed lawyers. They're losers. I don't want to hang out with them. They couldn't get laid in high school.
They can't sit with us either.
Yeah.
That's facts. In criminal court, the end of that story is Wayne, the private eye.
Yeah.
He called me, he says, we got to tell you something. I always have to come to Jesus with all my clients. I was like, I didn't lie to you. I told you everything. Oh, he was like, oh yeah, you talk way too much. He's like, you need to learn to shut the fuck up because you way over explain.
Stop defending yourself.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And that's something you said. But one, being in a relationship with a narcissistic person who has convinced you, I mean, you've seen my psych test, like, I'm going to plaster, I'm going to put them all over my walls. But like, I was so convinced that I was crazy.
Yep.
That like I was willing to do whatever it took to prove that I was crazy so that I could then have a diagnosis.
So you could fix it.
So I could fix it. Because there was never the allegation of drugs. There was never the allegation of alcohol because that just, it's not my jam. And then there was an allegation that I drink too much coffee and I stay up too late. Okay, facts. Guilty as charged. Guilty as charged.
100, yeah.
Yeah, 100. Okay, but in my defense, when I was actually in my home, and my ex put this on paper, and it's like, it's so, now that I'm out and I'm safe and I'm healed in my body and my mind and my spirit, and like the news that I got yesterday, it took me down for a second.
Yeah.
I got on the phone with my best friend. And they go, Autumn, remember, we already knew this, because Wayne, to finish that story, goes, we already know that you're innocent. We've been investigating you for 3 months. And I'm like, I was like, and he goes, well, and there's always a point in a criminal investigation where as an attorney, as a criminal attorney, we need to know what you did so that we can defend it. Just tell me the thing. And that's why I love in like family court when people like, there's always something. That's with you. I'm like, she lost her license. Like what? But I also didn't really investigate you or like research you enough to, because there's so many new people coming into my orbit. Yeah. And so many, like, it was just like, I could feel it. And I was talking to Meg about this. I was like, she's like, it feels like there's a rising. And for me, the turning point was when we lost Virginia Guthrie. She's an Epstein survivor. She left us when we were filming season 1 of the Trebuchet. And I remember saying to my producer, I was so upset about her passing, and she was in the middle of family court.
A lot of people don't know that. Yeah.
I know, that is like...
She was in California family court, right?
I think she was in Australia.
Oh, okay. That's right. She was in Australia.
If
they've got a massive problem.
So crazy.
Yeah.
Holy, I've got some messages in my DMs that I need to get back to. But like, I was like, you know what? This is actually more than I'm even prepared for, because this is sinister.
Australia and UK are going to have to deal with their stuff separately.
Yeah.
But there is movement for family court stuff in Australia. I forgot she was there.
Yeah.
Did she used to live in California? Sorry.
Probably at some point. She
that was Florida. I digress.
Yeah, she was in the States, and then I think and you know, it's interesting, the man who she was, which I guess this is like more for her children, because her children are still alive, and like out of respect for them, because we were talking about their mother, it's like, how do you honor somebody who she had the courage to come forward and say the hard, uncomfortable thing. And no matter what you want to say about people, maybe she took money, maybe she didn't. I don't know, and I don't care.
Yeah.
Nobody deserves that. And then afterwards, she ends up fighting her way through family court. And the person she's divorcing is the father of her children, obviously, but also is the person who saved her. And early in their marriage, if you go back in her social media feed and you go back to old interviews, she credits him. And I think he's the one whose last name is like Bouffray or something like that. She credits him as being like her savior, and he rescued her and he got her out, which is so common in domestic violence. And I'm not making any allegations. I know nothing about this. This is simply an observation that when she passed away, and I knew she was in the middle of family court hell, and there was some weird stuff that happened, which, like, I pray to God, like, she and Elvis and Bigfoot are just kikiing in the mountains alive.
Bigfoot's alive.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope he's got Virginia in, like, a nice little nest in the Washington Forest, you know, because the reality of it is just, it's hard.
Too much.
Yeah, it's too much. But she was going through family court, and the person who she credited as getting her out of the Epstein stuff and then giving her the courage to and loved her through everything was Gouffre. And it's like, wow, what a beautiful testimony. But then when she was in this other position, now she is back in a cycle. And my question is, again, not a therapist, just an observation. Is it that two things are true? One, she was in an abusive situation and she was an early victim. And then she got out of it and was in a healthy relationship that then turned toxic because she didn't know how to have a healthy relationship. And so it's like, you know.
Or the worst one, which is probably true.
Yeah, which is probably true. Exactly. So it's like you gaslight yourself, right? And again, that's why when
she thought he was her savior, and she just was repeating a cycle in a different way.
So people asked me that about my ex-husband because I was married for 17 years. I got married at 21, and a lot of people meet this version of me, or people who knew me before knew this version of me, but they didn't know anything that was going on in my private life. And so I present very, you know, hi. My mom was an Army doctor and a very well-respected doctor in our hometown, and was a victim of domestic violence. And her first husband, perpetrator. Her next husband, my dad, not a violent perpetrator, but a cheater. Yeah. And so she would keep choosing these same type of men. But my dad rescued her from her first husband. Yep. And then my dad cheats and whatever, and he owns it. And it's like, was I telling you this? My dad was married to 7 women, six women 7 times. I was telling Kira, I was doing my family tree, and I was like, oh, that's mom 7 or whatever. God love him. He's not a quitter. You got to give him that.
LOL.
He's gonna always try again. But so he was a cheater, and he rescued my mom, and then they get divorced. My brothers and I survived family court. So I'm actually a 2nd generation family court survivor. And at some point, I think I'll share what happened with, like, I don't know who the right guest is besides maybe like if I have a custody evaluator on and they can actually sit there and either defend their position or understand the consequence of their bad behavior, their bad choices. Because again, the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Now, I'm not giving custodial evaluators good intention vibes. I'm just not doing it.
You're not?
No, I'm not engaging in that. I can't engage in it. I think there are great psychologists out there. I think there are great people in the psychology field. Custodial evaluations, in my humble opinion, separate and distinct from the businesses I run, are complete and total garbage. And there is a special place.
I love that disclaimer that you just dropped in there. What did you say? Special and succinct from the businesses I run?
Yeah.
Fuck. I hang out with you more often. Your brain is
there's
so
this
good.
special place for people that do that to families under the guise of science.
So
and judicial immunity.
Separate and distinct from
my businesses.
You did this the other night and you just go so fast. I'm like, oh, I want my brain to work like that. I run. When I was 12, okay, so my mom, right? Rescue. And then in comes my stepdad, who's 14 years younger than my mom, who has never had kids, who's up to some weird ass shit that in retrospect, we all like, it's so crazy how my mom was a doctor. It's the same way like I was a teacher. How can you be a person in a position that should know better, but you're not doing better, right? Because a cycle and you can't break it till you break it. But my mom, they forced us into family therapy, I think we had to do. Like we had to do so many sessions and to determine who we were going to go with. And my dad eventually was just like, I'm fucking out. I'm out. Send me the child support bill. I'm not doing this with you. Yeah. And at the time I felt like, wow, like, thanks for abandoning us, dude. And now looking back as an adult, I see how difficult my mom and my stepdad made the process. Yeah. And I actually have a lot of resentment towards them. And as I was starting to kind of come into that realization several years ago, after my mom divorced my stepdad, right? Yeah. And then we were all kind of like, and that's how you know somebody is like literally a monster or a narcissist or a terrible human being. They're a parasite that clings to you and sucks the life out of you for 20 years. And then the day that they decide they're done with you and or they have found a new supply, never again. They're gone. I have not seen, like, I have not heard hide nor hair from this man, and nobody in the family has for, what year is it? 2010. It's been 10 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
10 years.
2010, that's 15.
2016, 2018.
Okay.
Roughly. 2017, 20, somewhere in there. It was before we moved to Africa. And I remember at first he was trying to like get me to take his side and like, well, you know, your mom's crazy and you know this. And I'm thinking, well, yeah, she's fucking nuts. But also I used to come home and see bruises all over her body and all over her face. So like two things are true. Yeah, she's nuts, but you also beat the hell out of her. Yeah, she's nuts, but you also used to like leave women's underwear in the dryer and then claim that they were mine. And I'm like, what the fuck? Why am I'm you know what I mean? He used to blame stuff on my mom and be like, Natalie, those are Autumn's clearly. And then once it gets to the point where it's like, well, you can't blame it on the teenage daughter anymore. Yeah. And also, you know what I mean? So, that kind of stuff. And then gone, just totally gone. And we still have some, guess what he is? Australian. Speaking of.
I'd like to date an Australian man on a random aside.
Yeah.
Somebody said, ugh.
There's like a lot of, they're cool, but when they're not, they're not.
No, that sounds horrific. I'm kind of making like a little bit of a joke.
Oh, you
like,
are?
Yeah. No, but I do think Australian men are attractive. I just like. Yeah. But I don't know. I think also the flip side of like the cycle of domestic violence is, you know, and I talked to Dr. Coachella. I can't think of her last, I can never pronounce it right. Christine Marie, which is like also my name, but she talks about how there are people that perpetrate abuse that can receive treatment and can do better. And we have to talk about like the family cycles. I think there are people that are like, they don't have healthy coping mechanisms. And so there's a difference in people that perpetrate unhealthy behaviors on other people, which is obviously abuse and not okay. And then there's a difference though when you start talking about these sociopaths, psychopaths. I can't use that word because I'm not a psychologist, but I'm talking about the people that will ruin your life in perpetuity for 20 years, ruin their own children's lives. That's entirely different than a male or female that was raised with unhealthy coping mechanisms that act out, that do crazy things, that may be perpetrators of abuse in isolated incidents. But what we're seeing now is like
reactive abuse.
Yeah.
Where it's like,
you know what's crazy is Dr. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. No, but she said that she's not calling it reactive abuse anymore. She's calling it self-defense. And I was like, that's kind of like...
That's what my criminal defense attorney called
that's super fascinating. Like, because I've seen reactive abuse too. Like I've seen it like in real time.
Just mind you, my reactive abuse was picking up my baby out of a bathtub to try to get out of a bathroom that my ex-husband had locked me in and the kids in after repeatedly asking him to please leave because he was exhibiting behaviors that I, as a licensed educator with a master's of education and a mandated reporter, was identifying as grooming behavior because it was increasing in frequency and duration. And part of the reason why I was up all night is I was making sure my kids were safe in their beds because I had stopped sharing a marital bed and we were on our way to divorce and separation. We'd already been separated. We'd come back together, had a baby, and I was just did you read the journal?
I read a lot of it actually. On the plane I was like, oh my God.
So a licensed doctor, psychologist, two psychologists and two psychiatrists have all reviewed that, my doctors, because it was part of my court order to get psych evals and then follow whatever treatment plan they gave me, which they were like, you need to get out of your marriage immediately and stay out. This guy is dangerous. And then they started showing me the patterns and they go, and I'm like, and God works in such mysterious ways because like, I hate his attorney with like a passion, but then I'm like, but I also love her because if it weren't for her, I wouldn't be free right now. And I wouldn't have this, I wouldn't have this life and my children wouldn't have the ability to break the cycle, like generationally. She literally believed my ex that I was this crazy person that he put on paper, right? And forced me into these like two psych evals. Both came back good, not crazy, which is funny because I was like, tell me what I have so I can fix it. I like literally was at my doctor's. I was like, please give me drugs, give me whatever, just so I can tell him that I'm doing it. And they're like, yeah, we're not going to give you medication because you're not crazy. That's crazy that you think you're crazy. Right. And that if you go home and don't say like, look, the doctor gave me this. And how many do I have to take today? That's crazy. And then the priest, like I said, basically said the same thing. Like spiritually, you were absolved. You could get up. Okay. These doctors review this, and again, this is part of why my story is just, it's almost karmic. Like the doctor, my ex convinces his lawyer that I'm crazy. So she forces these fake stipulations that forced me into, and I say fake because they were fraudulently signed. Like I never agreed to any of this. They forced me into these evaluations and I'm like, okay, I'm doing it. Let's do it. Let's find out. And then part of the evaluations is that I would agree and comply with any and all orders that were made.
But that's the whole thing. It's never enough.
No, but also what world is this that a woman is now, I'm being not medicated, I'm being, what would you call that? Like, it felt like medical abuse. Like I literally was ordered to go get my brain scanned, which included the placement of like 2 IVs on over 2 days. And they did blow like my veins out, which is like, okay, that sucked. But at the end of the day, it proved I wasn't crazy. So I'm like, eh. But
so many questions though in all of that.
questions.
Yeah. But so like one, I mean, you also have lawyers playing doctors.
Yeah.
But on the same time, it's like you said so many things. Like, and I see so many victims of family court that are just like, they over-explain themselves.
Yeah.
Because they're so used to having to over-explain themselves. And that's why I think there's a special place in where for these custodial evaluators and all of these evaluations, because I cannot think of a situation. Okay, so let me like frame it a different way. I have amazing stories from being a public defender where I represented people that did heinous things, right? I have amazing stories where people were so strung out, they were stealing from their grandmother, they lost their children, all of this stuff. A judge sends them to treatment, they get sober, they're sober 6 years, they're sober 10 years, they're sober this, they change their life, they get their kids back. You know what I mean? I have not one positive story of family court in 10 years. Not one situation where the court made it any better. I have people in criminal court that, I have a follower right now. It's like, I've been sober for 7 years. I love you. Oh my gosh, thank you. I can tell you, like, and so that's like to flip it. It's family court's crazy making. It's crazy making.
Yeah, if you're not crazy when you go in, you'll be crazy when you come out.
If you are not crazy when you come out, you're actually crazy.
Facts. But that's what my court-ordered medical evaluations that I was compelled to go with. So for me, the reason why my ex kept forcing these medical evaluations, which again...
But so that's the judge should have stopped it.
Oh, no, she was so...
But that's where it's like, it makes no sense. How many evaluations? You'll see stories of women that have had 7. Why are we doing that? That's insane.
Well, because it's a lot of money.
But it's also like somebody has to have an objective, reasonable mind. That's why I'm saying that there's like a problem with divorce attorneys in general, like with 7 evaluations.
Yeah.
If this is science, you don't need 7.
Yeah.
Make it make sense. Like none of it makes sense, and everyone's like, "Well, this is what happened that made this happen." And
Okay,
it's just make believe. We're making up words.
Exactly. So in my case, I was ordered to do a full psychological evaluation.
But stop. What's full mean? I'm a lawyer, so
That's a
we
good question.
define words.
Okay, a full psychological evaluation. I don't know.
What's a psychological evaluation? Define it. They're making shit up. I'm not even trying to be condescending.
What's
like,
funny is...
if you were to ask 10 people on the street, what's a full psychological evaluation? You're going to get 10 different answers.
Yeah.
If you went to 10 different courts,
Yeah.
you're going to get 10 different answers.
Yeah.
If you go to 10 psychologists, you're going to get 10 different answers. It's using big words to ruin people's lives.
Yeah. On these psych evals, that's actually what we're uncovering now is this, because like I'm a dog with a bone. I'm trying to figure out, I had Dr. Regina Marshall. She's notorious. She's the one mom's battle. She's the Lala Kent. Like Lala Kent didn't have her, but Lala Kent is the one who put her on the, she's kind of the one who like put her on blast, kind of like she put her on the mainstream radar. And I don't remember if it was on an episode of Vanderpump Rules or like how it got into it, because I was like overseas at the time. And One Mom's Battle, vaguely, I remember Lala talking about it was when she was going through a custody thing with a narcissist who was a total...
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. Yeah, facts. And but then she just like her custody thing just kind of evaporated. But I think it was because 1, she educated herself really quick. 2, she had financial independence. And 3, she's like, catch me outside.
Yeah.
And you have to have that attitude.
100.
Because if you don't go in with that attitude, you're like, this is bullshit, you guys. Why are we here? But with a like when I showed up in court, come, I don't even know, June, after I had been in 6 months of therapy, which, great question on the full versus not. My ex wanted, no judge ordered this. Nobody was like, she did these crazy unhinged things. I was still literally teaching in the school district.
Yeah.
Like, I'm holding down 2 jobs. Okay, make it make sense. If I'm crazy, then you should be paying my medical bills and I shouldn't be sleeping in my car because I don't have any money. And like, everybody's like, how'd you lose the weight? I'm like, well, I didn't eat for days at a time because I had to save $300 a week.
When you were
to see
stressed
my
to the
kids.
absolute max.
Yeah, but then I had to pay to see my own children.
But it's that's where, and I get where people are like, you're participating in a system and then explaining yourself. It's all insane.
Yeah.
And there are people that are in charge that are perpetrating this on families and kids, and it's crazy.
Yes. But when they have your children hostage,
oh, you're going to do it.
You will do anything.
But actually, you talked about like how you feel like this moment's happening.
Yeah.
You said it was when Virginia passed. I don't think it was. I think
No. That she passed during season 1 when Elizabeth Weinstein passed.
Oh.
For me is now, I think, when it really hit the community, because she was such an advocate.
She
What do you
was.
think it was.
No, I actually think what's happening is that, you know, when a system first starts and it's like, so let's say that there's like bad actors in a system, or it's like a system is nefarious, but it's been going on for so long and it's emboldened people with bad behavior. Like the fact that there's no cameras in courtrooms, everyone participating in California thinks there's no accountability. Right? Like in Kentucky, we still have cameras. So there's still some people on their best behavior, but it's gotten to where they've just gotten like, we'll take everything. It's gotten too big. They've gotten too big for their britches, I guess you will say. And everyone's sick of it. Because like gag orders, I also think there's a pendulum swinging just in society where truth is becoming much more of a commodity that's like a value as opposed to what it was maybe 5 years ago, especially after the pandemic. But I think people are just like, whoa, no.
Yeah.
You know?
It's so I'm a podcaster, which ironically the judge deemed that I wasn't crazy, but I did need to go through all these psych evals, and then I needed to comply with the orders. And part of what I had to comply with was whatever the doctors ordered. And the doctors at Amen Clinic, and I will praise Amen Clinic until my dying days, because two things. One, my ex had been trying to get me to go to them since 2001, the first time I left him. And then he just wore me down, because like I was emboldened because I was supported by these doctors who were like, you're not in a safe marriage, you need to get out. But then my mom and the messaging that I grew up with was, you're crazy, nobody believes you. My stepdad, not allegedly, I mean, he's not a good person. Like there's documents in court where my mom presented evidence of pedophilia. Like she literally was like, these are pictures of my kids from when they were teenagers and preteens, and why is my teenage daughter naked in this picture?
Yeah.
That's in the attic. And like, I am 30 years old at this point. I've got 2 little kids. I'm married. I'm going through my own shit in my marriage. And I'm just like, Mom, love you. Can't deal with your bullshit anymore. This is your 3rd marriage to the 3rd asshole. I can't. I already lived through it.
Yeah.
I was already there. Did I know he was taking nasty pictures? No, but did I beg my dad to let me get a lock on my door, even though my dad didn't live in that house, and whatever conversation happened between him and my stepdad was clearly enough to get him to back off?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and so it's like, yeah, my dad's an asshole cheater, but at the same time, whatever conversation he had with my stepdad kept me safe enough.
Well, good people do bad things, bad people do good things.
Exactly. But they're both doctors, my mom and my stepdad. And so I was terrified of doctors. And so people would say, like, Autumn, if you were abused as a kid, why didn't anybody know? I'm like, well, I never went to a doctor as a kid. My mom was my doctor. My stepdad was, my abusers were my doctors.
Okay, back up. But
Yeah.
most people that are abused go to doctors. 99.9% of people that are abused go to doctors.
Like when they're kids?
All day, every day, yeah.
I never went to a doctor's.
No, but what I'm saying is like there's like assumptions. So in the law we have this thing called like assuming facts, not in evidence. That's an objection.
Yeah.
There's so many. I notice when I talk to people that have been through family court, they just like say sentences that have so many assumptions in them. Like, oh, well, like because someone else said something, it's automatically true, instead of just like stepping back and being like,
So like I never had a pediatrician.
Yeah.
Never had a pediatrician. And the pediatrician in our town, her name was Dr. Baldwin Johnson. Nicest lady. I went to ballet with her daughter. So
Yeah.
I was like, can I go to a pediatrician? Like all the other kids
Yeah, I
go
mean,
to a
that's-
pediatrician. Like I never got to go to a pediatrician. I never went to like a women's health doctor when I turned 13. Instead, my own mother and my stepfather were prescribing me antipsychotic medication.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, because when we went through family court, again, my brothers were smart. They knew to STFU, shut the fuck up. They knew that if they didn't say shit, all they had to do was sit there 30 minutes and then they got
get
to
out,
go,
yeah.
right? I am an experiential learner, 1000%. Like I had to go to jail for 3 nights to realize that my ex actually hated me and was not coming to get me, and that I had just taken the fall for somebody who was going to actually kill me if I went back. So again, experiential learner. Trying not to do that anymore. But when I was a kid, we got put through this mandated, I can't believe I'm telling this story. Like I didn't think I'd do this now, but court ordered.
Yeah.
And again, like I would love to go back and actually look at these documents, and I've heard of adult children going back and looking
Yeah,
at these
you
court
should.
records. I've seen some of my parents' divorce records, and it's very much like, this person gets the house and this person gets this. And I'm just like, you guys are assholes fighting over assets.
Well, that's going to be most of the documents. I mean, to be honest. So, like, that's another problem than what's happening is these children that come up in family court aren't going to be able to get access to all this crazy shit that happened because it's never made a part of the record.
Yeah. So, like, how could I ever go back and do anything other than just recall my dad remembers it one way. My mom remembers it different ways depending on which narrative is convenient for her to tell. The one where she's my savior and the one where she's also a victim of the system.
Well, and that's a common thing, and it's like a cyclical cycle. I mean, it really is. Like,
that's why with this situation with my kids, I was like, whatever it takes, I'm breaking this. And when they ordered me to do these psych tests with Amen clinics, my ex had been trying to get me to do this for like years, and like dog with a bone. You got to do this. You're crazy. You're this. Da, 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 da. And the doctors were like, yeah, he doesn't have a medical degree. He doesn't, fact, not in evidence, right?
Right, literally.
And so I get 2 psych evals ordered by the court, stipulated to. Never ordered. The judge doesn't order.
Well, that still would likely be an order if it's stipulated to. It becomes a court order.
But like my ex is the one who asked for it. First he
Yeah.
tried to criminalize me, and then once he realized the DA was, a smart, like a popular kid in high school, and was like, we're not playing this dumbass game.
Yeah.
And just put them in their place, and it was done. He was like, oh no, my grand plan to criminalize her, because I want to ask you, in Kentucky, in California, they have this presumption rebuttal where because California is a 50-50 state, and everybody's like, man, he was so stupid to do this in California because you're going to get half of everything no matter what. It's going to be a clean divorce. It's going to be so easy. No. In California courts, the way that these perpetrators of domestic violence are getting away with it, or not getting away with it, but like introducing enough confusion into the system, is if they can get I think it's a 30-44 rebuttal presumption, where if you have perpetrated domestic violence in the last 5 years, they do not have to split anything or pay you anything. So you can be a stay-at-home mom for 17 years.
So basically, so many questions there, so many things. So family court inherently is designed for perpetrators to win.
Yes.
I have no idea what this presumption is that you're talking about in California, but if there is, it's like the same reason that we have all of the tax codes. And if there's a loophole, somebody's going to be able to take advantage of them as a smart business person.
Yeah.
Well, family court is an avenue where if someone's a perpetrator of intimate domestic violence, coercive control, things of that nature, they're going to find the loophole to take advantage of it. And by nature of relationships that are not equal, people that are reasonable are going to just say, take this, I want out, take it, I want out.
I signed everything away. Here's the kicker. I signed everything away in January 2024 when we still actually had access.
Well, but that's like too, when I would have clients that would be like, oh, I just want to give him this or give her this and it'll stop. It's like, I've seen this show before. But the biggest problem is, well, like as a society, why do we have all of these creations that are happening?
Yeah.
And I think there's like a plethora of reasons that I'm not qualified. It's above my pay grade to say. But we just shouldn't participate in an arena where this stuff is encouraged. And it is.
Yeah.
Because it's not happening in criminal court, at least in my experience. Now, I haven't been in criminal court in a minute, but the pandemic really shifted things where people were at home and they got used to people in the system, or, oh, we can do Zoom court and we can work part-time and we can do this allegedly. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what the quick answer is to it other than like this needs to be solved by society, not by people with Juris Doctorates like myself.
I agree. Something really interesting about this rising that's happening is when I entered family court, and I've got 2 psych evals, and I'm preparing for the Marshall one that I know I need to really keep an eye on because she's the one who's have you seen those reunification?
Yeah.
Right? So I'm watching that going, I'm a mom, and I'm an educator, and I remember thinking the night that I went with the police, and I think I've told this on the podcast yet, they basically gave me a choice because he had teed it up. I mean, he literally staged it. It's a whole thing. It's all none of that matters. The choice that I was essentially given was you're leaving no matter what. You, girl, are going. I'm a dummy, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to women's shelter? They're like, no, you're going to jail, bitch. And I'm like, wait, what? Whoa, what? No, that's not true. Wait, what? And they're like, well, it's too late. An accusation has already been made. And I'm under the impression that one of my girlfriends or my dad has called the police and has narked him out. And I'm like, nope, whatever they said, fuck them. No, because I'm going to die no matter what. if my family's the one that called, if my girlfriends are the one that called, if I'm the one that called, I called my fucking brother in Alaska. I'm like, Augie, you need to get your boy out of here, or I'm going to call the police. I'm never going to call the police. I'm in Alaska. I'm going to fucking call the police. Like, you don't do that.
Right.
Because that's more dangerous. You're just introducing other people into the equation. You handle it. This is not an answer, but it's like a societal way that you handle things. Like, every group handles it different.
Right.
And anyways, these police, who weren't even police, we later found out were, what were they called? Security guards, basically. I'm sitting there going, you know what this is, right?
Yeah, of course.
They have no idea. We get them under oath, and do you know what this? No idea. I'm like, okay, you guys need training, one. But they gave me a choice. They said, one of you is going tonight, and there's already been an accusation against you. And I was like, okay, then I will go. I didn't know it was his accusation. And then once they start to explain it to me that I'm going to jail, not a women's shelter, I'm like, wait, what? Wait, who made what accusation? And I'm suddenly realizing I've been set up, but also it wasn't my side of the family that made the accusation, right? And so now I don't have to protect anybody because now I'm like, oh, I'm the target, or I'm the baddie, right? And then I'm clearly covered in bruises. I've been in the hospital 3 nights before. Like, praise the Lord, I had all these medical documents. And then when you go to jail, they look at your body. I don't think I had to cough and squat. Everybody asked that. I'm like, I don't think I did. I don't remember. But I definitely had a lot of bruises that then they documented. How'd you get that one? And I was like, well, check my medical records.
And see, this is the stories that I'm like, I'm not equipped.
Yeah.
No, I'm not equipped. Like, I'm a lawyer. Like, I'm not equipped.
Yeah, but the trauma of it, the doctors at Amen Clinic, they helped me get through it because, again, court ordered. They looked at that marriage journal and they were like, 4 of them all agreed separately. It's the same as the 4 priests.
Yeah.
This
You don't have to convince me.
No, I know, but I had to be convinced.
Yeah.
I had to convince myself. I was so deep in my sickness that I was still actively trying to go back to him in February of 2024.
Yeah.
When I didn't have my kids for a month and I thought I was going to die.
And so that's which is horrific, beyond horrific. Yeah. And I think that's where you have the disconnect when it comes to give any deference to family court judges or people in family court, which I'm struggling to do, but they don't have any training on how that works. And so when you do have someone that goes, they don't understand how the cycles of abuse. And Dr. Christine talks about that so much.
Who, the judges?
Yeah, they don't have training in that.
You're going to give deference or you're going to say gals, you're going to call bullshit, right? On gals. Guardian ad litem.
I'm not a big fan.
Oh, no, not gals. What was it? Custody evaluators.
Custody evaluators, yeah.
So you're just like, no, absolutely not. It's not right. I'm same for judges. I'm like, fuck you.
Fair
as a
enough.
matter of fact.
Yeah, fair enough.
If you are going to preside over family court,
you should be trained. Yes, you should know. I agree.
In my own trial, they were asking if we had any experts in education or experts in child whatever. And my ex's attorney put me on the stand and kept trying to punk me. And she believed the person that he told her I was on paper. And she's like, this bitch is crazy. We need to get her a fucking psych eval right now. And let's do all this. At a certain point, she realized at least by February 9th, 2024, which is a month and 8 days after she came on, that I wasn't crazy.
Yeah.
She knew exactly what she was up against.
And she was just getting paid, probably,
yes.
allegedly.
And because we went toe to toe. And the mistake that I made was telling her that my ex has, his family has money. They're fracking, natural gas fracking in Pennsylvania. And it's a lot of money. And now with this information from yesterday, I'm like, well, there you go. Mm-hmm. There you go. Because again, I was in my sickness and I had to look at these results and have 4 doctors, just like I had 4 priests tell me I needed to leave my marriage because he was never going to honor me as a woman and had actually so flagrantly violated our vows, the spiritual contract that we made, that I was actually what is it called? Void in ab initio. That's what is that? That's a thing in court. Void. It's a spell that we cast when we want everything undone. I'm kidding. When you make a motion to vacate.
Motion to vacate, yeah.
Fraud upon the court, judicial deception, you ask for the orders to be void ab initio, which means this order, we're asking you to vacate this order because of fraud upon the court right here.
Yeah, it must be, I've never used that, yeah. Well, we have fraud upon the court statutes that allow for different stuff. That's codified in our rules of evidence.
Yeah.
I think it is. No, yeah, I think that's
so
in our rules.
This is the cheat
code.
No,
criminal and civil procedure, my bad.
So this is the cheat code that people are using and they're being successful with it.
I've seen a lot of success with pro se litigants.
Yep. So you find fraud anywhere. anything in your like that you can prove beyond a reasonable shadow of a doubt, and then you go, I want to issue a motion to vacate these orders, motion to vacate for fraud for judicial deception, meaning the judge, you were deceived. You didn't know. How could you possibly give them a carrot? And then you say, like, are you gonna double down and say that you can't, that this really should hold? That's why when you play this card, you've got to know beyond a shadow of doubt, like, you're playing it.
So I can't, just because of my nature. Like these all have some of these have specific legal meanings. I certainly think in Kentucky, when you present fraud upon the court legitimately, that there would likely have to be a hearing pursuant to our rules. And this is the hardest part about it, there's not a quick fix.
No, there's not.
There's not even I'm
But
not
just
a hope.
to know that there is a thing where you can get a motion to
So
vacate.
the thing is, though, is there's not a lawyer that doesn't know that already.
Well, that's awesome, because we're all fucking learning it.
No, but what
$150,000 later.
Yeah, but
what's crazy.
No, yeah, but what I'm saying is, like, if these things were, why are the lawyers not filing these motions?
Because they're getting paid a lot of money. Because the longer they can stay on your case, the more the assets you can say. I just was on the phone for 30 minutes with Bank of America today, because all of my accounts are marked fraud. Because fraud was perpetrated against me, mortgage fraud, and the FTC is investigating this Federal Trade Commission. And so my credit cards, and I'm the one that put the marks on them, that I'm like, hey, if anybody tries to open an account, if anybody tries to charge on this, like, you let me know. And then they're like, I'm having to do double, triple, like, I'm like literally at a store getting the podcast mics going, like, yes, it's me, facial recognition, which good for them that they take it that seriously, which is a whole other part of the scam. There are lawyers, and this is beyond a shadow of a doubt, who know exactly.
I agree.
My lawyer,
I don't know your lawyer,
No.
I do know there are nefarious players and lawyers that, like, I don't want to know,
Christine,
to be honest.
literally down to the point where they will coach you on how to open a credit card, like a specific one, right? Take out a specific amount of money on a set type of card, because that card specifically, you can't do chargebacks or whatever. I had an Amex, and I was like, okay, what do you need? Let me put it on there. No, I don't take Amex. Like, what the fuck do you mean? Amex is the best one. Like, it's unlimited. Like, how much do you want me to put? My credit is good right now. Like, what do you want to get my kids back? Wouldn't take it. Wouldn't take it. Should have been my first red flag.
Well, I don't want to say that, but it's just like, gosh.
Oh, well, once you then get down the line, no, you need to open this credit card and charge this much, because turns out you have a savings account over here that you didn't know about that has this much money in it. So go get that money, and we're not going to file an FL-150, which is our version of a financial form. We're not going to file that yet.
That's wild. That's so disheartening.
It's terrifying.
I mean, it's illegal.
I have this shit in writing. I'm a historian, and I saved everything because I was fighting the DOD. And I was a lamb to slaughter. I thought my lawyers were they had my back.
Right. It's like, I mean, some of the stuff I hear from lawyers, it's like, that's what Hugh and I were just talking about on our podcast. It's like, there's complacency to the C word that I don't use. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's just so disheartening. It's like, I see it very viscerally with custodial evaluators, with some judges, with some guardian ad litems. I think y'all use minors counsel here. We have friend of the courts, and it's so disheartening. I mean, and I don't know the answer, and I don't know, it's almost like having to apologize, like, on behalf of something that I don't want to associate with. No, I know, but I feel a moral obligation. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I don't know what the answer is.
Yeah, but that'd be like me, like, having a moral obligation for every shitty teacher that ever hurt a kid.
Exactly.
Like, my job is to make sure that if I see a shitty teacher in the classroom acting inappropriately because I'm a mandated reporter,
that we report.
Yes.
Yeah. And I did report the judge. I reported my judge.
Yeah,
that was
so your situation was... You
not
got
important.
ex parte, or explain your situation. You got retaliated against, right?
As an attorney. Not as a litigant. No, my case was not uncontested, but yeah, essentially uncontested. Yeah. I mean, and so I am, at the time, it was after the pandemic, 12, 13 years into practicing law.
Yeah.
I had a I've never told the full facts of what happened with this case, and I still can't, because I don't want to put the client through that, but it was one of the most horrific domestic violence cases that I have ever been on. Like, 100% had a security system at my house because of this man.
By the way, I've got great therapists if you need some numbers, and
Yeah.
you don't even have to get a brain scan.
No, I mean, and I'll have one. It's like, but I really thought this guy at some point this was during the pandemic too. So courts, we have like half access to courts. It's probably 2021, but still they're like coming back like slow. But I legitimately thought this guy was going to kill her or the kids.
Did you feel like you were in danger for defending her? Or
He threatened me before, but I was like, he threatened everybody. Like, you don't get me wrong. He threatened a judge. He threatened this. The SWAT team had to remove him from a house before. When he was doing okay, he always kind of somewhat respected me-ish compared to other attorneys. Like, because my client had a male attorney before. And you can already see the problems with that. But I legitimately thought he was going to kill her, or do something bad. Like it was to the point that he was like selfie taking pictures, like with a hashtag shooter, and people didn't know where he was.
This is in Kentucky, right?
Yeah.
You're describing something eerily similar to a case here in Orange County. What's happening in Orange County? This is wild. Actually, it might not be Orange County. No, I think it is, because one of her girlfriends was on Real Housewives of Orange County. So, do you remember, are you an Orange County fan?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Season near the Lydia years. Remember Lydia with the big eyes? There was also a girl who was on for just like a hot second named Lizzie something. Big boobs, blonde hair.
Oh, yeah,
She's
from Kentucky. Yeah.
Jinx. Kentucky.
Yeah, Christian was her husband. Is he bad?
No. No. I'm just trying to earmark who the person she's attached to. So Lizzie, if you want to come on and talk to Christine,
oh my gosh, yeah, she had a swimsuit
Lydia
line
on the case. So Lizzie has a girlfriend named Lydia Kennedy, or I think that's her name, something like this. I'll tag her. I don't even know how we ended up following each other on social. She interviewed Dr. Amen of Amen Clinics.
Yeah.
And I met Dr. Amen at a backstage at the inauguration, and he was like my one get where I was like, oh my gosh, that's Dr. Amen. Like, I gotta go say hi. And he's just like this little guy, like nobody, if you didn't know who he was, you wouldn't know who he was. And I was like, this is the moment when this man has, dozens of clinics and is like running what I think is actually a good clinic. And I feel like if they find you crazy, or if they find something, and because it's like, show me the science, right? That's what you said. What's a full evaluation? What's a full this? And I went through this with the Orange County moms and dads who are dealing with the fraudulent 730 evaluator.
Which is like a custodial evaluator.
Custodial evaluator.
Yeah. Ish or whatever. I don't know what the verbiage is.
She's a psychologist or psychiatrist, whatever. Fraud upon the court. And if you look at all their different, it's one person perpetrating the same crime over and over and over again. And so you would think that she would just keep rinse and repeat. But for each one of them, their billing's different, their procedures are different, their codes are different. And that's how they get you in Medicaid fraud. Their codes are different. Thank you. Interesting you say that. That's how she got caught, was she just couldn't keep her story straight.
So what's that have to do with Lizzie?
Right. Oh. So Dr. Amen, the Amen clinics, because you asked earlier, how do you tell the difference between a good and a bad one? Well, the good one actually follows the law.
Oh, yeah.
It was $4,995. And that included all my brain scans and a full evaluation and a report and all this. It did include the IV placement. And I was like, okay, if I'm crazy, they're going to be able to show me exactly which part of my brain is going to light up. And everybody goes, Autumn, don't do this. What if you have dementia? What if you've got Alzheimer's? What if you've got something that you don't even know you have?
Right.
And then they use that to take it forever and ever.
Well, you already were in that situation.
Right, yeah, exactly. Like Kennedy, right? Lobotomy. And I literally said, and these were good people who were like, Autumn, please don't do this. We love you too much to see you do this, especially since right now you are not in a good place. You will literally do anything for your kids. Your kids are your drugs. You are the equivalent of a drug addict right now trying to get high. I would do anything to get back to my kids. Anything.
Right.
And there is a mom here in Orange County. This is a public case, so I'm fine saying it. She had an article published that said sex for custody. And for, I don't even remember, a year or two, the only way she could see her kid without paying was if she went to the house where the dad lived and would agree to have sex while she was there, sex with the dad, and then she'd get unsupervised time with her kid.
Oh my God.
And she was like, I know it doesn't sound right. I'm like, girl, I would have fucked anybody. Really, but
Is this the case though where you're talking about the hashtag shooter from?
No, but I'm getting to that. You're right. Sorry, back to that. So Lydia connected with Lizzie. They did an interview with Dr. Amen, and Amen Clinics does these very structured things. They do a good faith estimate, meaning this is how much it's going to cost, and a good faith estimate So this is how, if you've had an evaluation and you want to know, like, did you get scammed? A good faith estimate should come first. And that's like a Federal Trade Commission, good faith in billing, good faith in practices, all that. And if they go over that bill by $400 or more, you now have the right to question it, appeal it.
Fascinating. Yeah, I'm not aware of that. I mean, I'm aware, like, limitedly, we're talking about all this consumer protection, which is so fascinating in the family court space.
Yeah. Well, so if you end up in family court, you just become an expert in everything because you're getting fucked from every different angle.
Literally.
No, so the end of the story, and it will all come back to Dr. Amen, is a good faith estimate will tell you exactly how much your treatment's going to be.
Right.
And if it's anything over $400, more than that, they have a $400 grace period or grace whatever. You can petition to have it reduced or whatever. You're like, this is way more than we said, right?
Right.
So, and then it has exactly what the codes, or it has exactly what the procedures are, exactly how many minutes those things are going to take, exactly what tests they're going to issue. And mind you, just like, how much do you think it should cost for a company to issue a test that you can take on the computer in their office that takes, 5 hours to take 5 tests. They're an hour long each, but it's literally you clicking a button that they have to just have the software for.
Oh my God, I have no idea how much that should cost.
Okay, but there's no, it's like all computer graded and all that. So would like $20,000 seem reasonable to you?
Nothing about custodial evaluators seem reasonable to me.
Exactly. It's $400. It's $100 a test.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll pay $100 for a psych test. That sounds reasonable to me. $20,000?
No, it's insane.
It's and that's what we're saying. There's no regulation, and nobody's calling this bullshit out.
They're making it up as they go.
Exactly. So Amen Clinics does the good faith estimate, and this is not like I'm not sponsored or anything. When I saw Dr. Amen, I walked up to him in the inauguration and I said, "Hi, I'm a patient, and I just want you to know you saved my life."
Yeah.
And this is how. I was ordered to do an evaluation. I was terrified. I was willing to take whatever diagnosis you guys were going to give me, and I was going to comply fully. Even if that meant I had undiagnosed schizophrenia or anything.
Right.
If anything, it came back the exact opposite. My ex had been calling their office demanding my records because he paid for them. They're like, "Sorry, sir, it doesn't work that way." Did the same thing with my OBGYN and then impersonated a insurance. He's wild.
Wild.
I think the answer, two psychologists and 2 psychiatrists all agreed it is my marriage journal, my chaos journal that he submitted, it's not mine, demonstrated traits of, this was like sociopathy, borderline psychopathy.
Okay.
Whichever one goes from like, I'm not intentionally doing this, it's just to like, oh yeah, I get off on this. That's what they said. Just looking at his words, 4 people separately, just like the 4.
Yeah.
And that for me, because I was so sick, being like, what do you want? What do you want from me? Do you want me to come back? Because he's telling me I'm going to force her to come back. I'm going to make her come back crawling hands and knees. I was like, yes, I'm waving. Literally, God, talk about trauma. But I love it because now I own it and I don't give 2 shits. I'll talk about all of it because I'm suing the fuck out of all these people because I just found out I can, because none of them are doing what they need to be doing. Mandated reporters not reporting. I literally waved a white flag at him. Literally. Quite literally. I had a towel. You can read it in one of my evaluations.
Yeah.
Mother waved a towel at the father. White towel. What the fuck do you think that means? I give. I give.
Yeah.
Anyways, Amen Clinics, they do everything right in accordance with law. Good faith billing.
Yeah.
If it goes over, and it never did, you know what you're going to
I've
get.
never seen something like that ordered in family
and
court.
they give me they give you the billing codes because they don't charge insurance. It's a cash pay, which all of these providers are.
Almost all of them. I mean, yeah, almost all of them are.
That's interesting. Why?
It's a red flag.
There you go. Why, if you're providing a service that you would have to provide at a hospital for whatever the insurance would pay, how are you getting away with charging $6,000 here, when it's court ordered? That's the thing that scares me. Specific for one specific provider.
So if I could take just a step back, if I could say, what are the things we could do to change family court? It would be judicial accountability, work full time. 2, stop delegating your judicial authority to third party appointments. That is the biggest problem. That is a huge problem.
Explain that to me.
Delegating custodial evaluators, friend of the courts, guardian ad litems, minors councils, court-appointed therapy, court-appointed family therapy, court-appointed supervisor for visitation, things like that. I mean,
Who all should be licensed, regulated, managed, and are not.
Even if they are,
Yeah.
quit delegating your judicial authority and power, period. And giving them, because the delegation of the authority gives them what in Kentucky we call quasi-judicial immunity, which essentially has been interpreted as immunity. So they're operating, with immune, which is insane. It's insane. Just even like having this conversation is insane.
But a judge is immune because they're a judge and like.
So there are people that are like experts in qualified immunity and immunity. But no, if they're acting within the scope of their job, they're immune. And that is a very, very general, not an expert on this in any capacity. Not even a little bit.
But I think a lot of people like me, I never even heard the term judicial immunity. I was like, what do you mean immunity? I thought immunity is like if you do something bad, they give you immunity if you narc on other people.
Well, no, immunity is, there's like almost all government actors have immunity.
You know what? I thought that was true until I started working for the State Department and they tried to sell me insurance for my job. And I was like, why do I need insurance? Like, I already signed up for health care, whatever. And they go, oh, no, this is if somebody wants to sue you for whatever you did.
Well, that's like the same thing that was malpractice insurance. Like everybody should carry it.
Yeah.
Judges should carry insurance.
Yeah, but as a government employee, I thought that
you would have immunity?
Or that if I did something wrong, like if I did something wrong because my job told me to do it, for example, all the people who were forced to vaccinate people, like while we were stationed at the embassy who did not want to, I'm not saying opinion one way or the other. I'm just saying if a provider's like, I really don't want to be a person that like puts this in somebody's arm because I'm not ready to do that. And they have to make the choice of like quitting their job or doing that. They quit their job because they were like, I'm too scared of the liability of this. Sure, the government says that they're going to protect me, and then we find out later they were never going to protect me.
Well, I think, though, that's like way bigger that the government always wins. So I would say for sure if the judges started to make the government higher up mad, that qualified immunity would probably be breached, or like, you know what I mean? They would be acting outside the scope, which would make them liable. But this is like one of those where the system goes back to the system always protects the system.
Yep.
But so if they start to get called out, the judges start to get called out, it's just the same thing we saw with police brutality. I think the pendulum is swinging and we're getting very close to having a nationwide movement to say, whoa, what the hell's going on in family court? Because it's happening to too many people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and too many normal people. And to that,
it's happening to people of all races, all religions, all socioeconomic statuses.
Yeah.
And that's where they've made a mistake, because that actually wasn't happening to the same degree with police brutality. It was to a degree, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you're, like I said, men, women, everyone's being affected.
Yeah.
And it depends.
So to go back to this Orange County situation, Lydia Kennedy, I think that's her name, whatever. She interviewed Dr. Amen, and I was like, oh, how do I know this woman? I started following her. She's a survivor of domestic violence, and it sounds eerily similar to the guy that you're describing. And she was silent for a long time, but you could see the hallmark signs of just scared.
Well, this was a client of mine.
No. But she then started posting the stuff that this guy was sending to her.
Oh.
And it's terrifying. You're like, who is protecting this woman? And like literally her friends and family and people who care for her on social media are like, hey, can people make sure she's okay? And I'm like, what world do we live in when this beautiful woman who clearly is just out of this guy's league, she made the mistake of going on a date with him, like, or whatever, you know what I mean?
But so this is just a stalker.
I think they had like a relationship, but it doesn't matter.
No.
You know, like victim blaming of like, well, you went on a date with him, you gave the loser, you gave the mouse a cookie. What do you expect?
Right.
I didn't expect him to fucking stalk me and threaten me for the next 10 years. But this guy's like, sounds like that, where it's like, there's no, my ex operated in shadows. You watched me yesterday discover a double life that I was like, no. Yes, I already knew this. But I also was like, holy shit. This is, when I found out that there was other stuff going on, I found out in 2024. And when the private investigator told me what he told me, I literally felt like my soul left my body. I literally remember sitting in the front seat of my car and he was telling me this information that my soul already knew because I lived it, but my brain had cognitive dissonance.
Yeah.
To be like, no, don't. I literally remember sitting in my front seat of my car. I'd just come home from my second job, and so that I could have money that week to eat and pay to see my children.
Oh my gosh.
And he told me this, and I was like, why are you calling? We're done. Everything's done. And he's like, I need to tell you something, and just please promise me you're a sweet girl. Never go back to this man. Like, and he goes, I need to tell you some things so that you don't become that statistic where you think that maybe it's not as bad as it is.
Yeah.
And you go back.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's like, it's so, and then that person, once the person makes that decision, and then you actually, like, the judges are not protecting the person. Well, like in my case, that was all a power play. I mean, it was just an absolute nightmare, but that shows.
And she punished you?
Well, no, yes, she did. So there was an ex parte situation because this judge is an absolute, she's not the brightest crown in the coloring box, let's say it like that. But I called her out for that behavior because she had made my client go and do some things. It's a long story, but regardless, I was just like, but there was an ex parte. I'd said something about how the judge did this wrong. Did you know that? And this is Denise Brown out of Louisville, Kentucky. Long story short, that message was sent to the judge. So the judge called me to, like, basically yell at me. How dare you say this?
What's an ex parte? Can you explain that?
Ex parte is an out of court statement with not everybody there. Like, you can't have information. She had information that was given to her. That was ex parte. Okay.
By who? The other attorney? Or?
Another attorney. Not attorney on the case. No. Just another attorney. Because it's all a power play and a lot of times in family court. So then got that information, then called me, and then I popped off. You know what I mean? Shocking. And then I filed a motion for her to recuse.
You have a lot of restraint. I can only imagine if you hadn't become a lawyer.
Yeah. I think it was probably good for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm always like, okay,
I would like
don't
to
go
know
there.
the white trash version of you. That's why I was actually.
Well, the night is young. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I didn't want you to be disbarred, but I was like, oh fuck, she's gonna be unhinged. Like, she's educated at the level of a lawyer, but she doesn't have her law degree, so she's just gonna like do whatever, say whatever. But I was like, fuck, you still get your law degree.
Yeah. No, I mean, I
but good for you. So happy for you.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you for
comply
fighting
with the
on
rules.
our side.
The rules are meant to be complied with, and you're supposed to help people in these situations. And then after that, I got the judge to recuse, but then I had another case in front of her. I was already getting burnt out. I was over family law. There's a really high burnover rate of family law attorneys, like the good ones. It's usually like 2 to 5 years, and then you're just like out.
How many judges are there where you were practicing?
There's 10 in the county I practice. I've practiced in front of 50 or 60 judges in my career, but in family court, I've probably practiced in front of, 15, 20.
But like let's say you're working for 5 years in this one town, or you're from there.
8-year terms, 10 judges.
Oh, they have terms.
They run.
Every 8 years?
Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. 8.
That's how long they're appointed for? 8 years?
They're run. They aren't appointed. Well, they can be appointed if there's a vacancy, but they're elected by, which is the whole point of judging is to,
time.
Well, the judiciary operates, yes. It operates like in secrecy. You know what I'm saying?
That's a long time to run for office. And
well, I mean, federal appointments are a lifetime. I don't know if they did a good job. I mean, because otherwise they're going to be constantly campaigning.
True.
So it goes back to the other, I don't know the flip side of the coin other than like people should just have integrity for what they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were joking about like if you can't say it on a family court, like this one solution for family court is you can't abolish it, but one solution is cameras everywhere.
Yes.
And then if you've got minors in the case, because it's family court, so chances are you're going to have minors, and it's just like child 1, child 2, child 3.
Yeah, or you could go by like my name CM.
Yeah.
That's how. I mean, every Supreme Court case that's ever been written about juvenile issues, which there've been tons of them. They're all like acronyms for their names, like TLO. Which is our search and seizure for children that came out in the 60s, 70s.
What was it called?
TLO. It's just like the famous juvenile case about searching in schools.
What's TLO stand for?
We don't know. That's the child's name.
Oh, that's what you're saying.
That's why that child's never been abused by everybody because we don't know who TLO is.
Oh, wait, what was it? Explain it again. What's the name of the court case, or what is
It's a state versus TLO.
State versus TLO?
I don't know which state it was.
For search and seizure in schools?
Yeah, a juvenile that was searched, and it got appealed all the way up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court made law about search and seizure of minors and their constitutionally protected rights, and it's a famous case that every lawyer knows, TLO, and it could be Tara Leanne Osborne.
Because they don't do a gender?
No.
How old is the case?
I want to say 60s or 70s. Don't quote me on that.
Oh, 1960s, 1970s?
Yeah.
So whoever this person is, if they were minor in the 60s and 70s, is probably like in their...
Yeah, and I mean, that person could have became public, but they never, not that I know of. But again, that's a famous case.
Audit.
Yeah. That's a famous case that, like, that's a good way to...
TLO versus state. But you don't know what state?
I don't know. New Jersey.
look at that.
Yeah, okay.
Did they come? Yeah, you know what internet sleuth. This is the cool thing about our judicial system is once you get a little bit of knowledge,
Oh, yeah.
you really kind of get invested in the process. And that's why, like today, I spent 3 hours on the phone with somebody who's unhinged, but also was giving me a lot of free, not legal advice, but also just kind of like the questions that real lawyers will not tolerate. So I can like, hear me out on this one.
Real lawyers, LOL.
Real lawyers. Well, my criminal defense attorney, who was like a godsend, and I only got him because family, you know what I mean? Like so many angels along my path.
Yeah.
And he's the first one to see me exactly for who I was at the bail bondsman. He's like, because he knew my brother. And so he.
Yeah, we don't have bail bondsmen in Kentucky.
What do you do for bail?
You just have to make it. Or we get 10% it or 50%.
Wait, what does that mean?
Of whatever it's set at, or you can get ROR released on your own recognizance.
Got it.
But yeah, we don't do that. And I mean, I do think there are problems with bail bondsmen, but also there are benefits, you know?
Yeah. The whole thing is just, you never think you're going to be in the system until you're in the system. And then you're like, well, this is wild.
You're never getting out of it either.
No, but we've said cameras in courts is one really good.
Judicial accountability. Yeah, cameras in courts are a must. I mean, it's insane that it's
when you say judicial accountability, that's part of the cameras in courts.
I think cameras in courts is first. First and foremost. That's like so basic. We need them in every courtroom in this country. But judicial accountability. We should know our judges as much as we know our legislatures, as much as we know the president. They need to work full time. They need to abide by the judicial ethics. But for family court in particular, we need to stop the delegation of judicial authority, the third party appointments.
That's a really eloquent way of saying it.
No more GLs, no more FOCs. No more
Friends of
custodial evaluators, no more court-ordered therapy with immunity.
So we're just talking family court, not CPS, Child Protective Services.
Right.
I don't know what court that is. Is that
Dependency, neglect, and abuse, and it's Cabinet for Health and Family Services, and we will have to do a follow-up on CPS
exactly
because that is a whole different rabbit hole that is very dark, very depressing.
Yes.
Also, the fact that, and let me be very, very clear, because I want to be super clear, there are people in this country that deserve to lose their children.
Yeah.
That goes without saying.
Yeah.
There are parents their children that need to be protected from their parents.
Yes.
My big point is it needs to be in compliance with due process.
Yeah.
Just like there are people that need to go to prison, right? There are people that deserve to be held accountable for their heinous activities, or heinous crimes, but there still has to be due process. We have due process in criminal law. I've represented people as a criminal defense attorney that, you know what I mean, I don't want to have a beer with, but it's still my moral obligation, and they got due process. Family court, we got to have due process.